An Indian company is processing a payment for a foreign SaaS vendor. The accounts payable team has the invoice in hand, and they need to clear the transaction. The immediate reflex is to spot the total and hunt for the withholding rate, but jumping straight to a percentage stops the process dead. Assuming a tax treaty applies or guessing a rate without a proper legal diagnosis leaves the company liable for the underlying tax, interest, and administrative penalties. You cannot price a tax risk if you haven't proven the tax actually exists under the law. This diagram shows the solution, a diagnostic sequence built on 5 strict gates. Every cross-border payment must pass through this architecture before a single rate is selected. A legally defensible decision doesn't begin by searching for a percentage. It starts by verifying whether India actually has the statutory right to tax the transaction in the first place. Gate 1 is the Income Tax Act of 2025. Under Sections 4 and 5, the Act alone decides whether an Indian tax charge exists. Tax treaties are often brought into the analysis too early. A treaty can restrict or reduce an existing domestic charge, but it can never create an Indian tax liability where the Act does not explicitly charge the income. This animation illustrates Gate 2, identifying the foreign vendor's legal form, a company, partnership, or trust. This specific form dictates the entire pathway, altering the residential status analysis, setting baseline tax rates, and triggering specific documentation requirements under Section 6. Domestic law acts as the absolute gatekeeper. If the Act does not charge the income, the analysis ends right here, and treaty provisions are irrelevant. Returning to our SaaS vendor, the invoice might simply say technical support. That label is practically useless for characterization. You have to look at the actual contract deliverables, the license rights, and the commercial substance of the work being performed. This diagram maps Section 9. Contract details are sequentially sorted into 5 statutory bins: royalty, fees for technical services, interest, dividend, and capital gains. Failing those, it falls into a residual bin, business income. Pure reimbursement claims require strict third-party evidence and zero markup. Properly characterizing the income based on the contract ensures you don't misapply standard withholding rates to complex mixed deliverable agreements. Gate 4 addresses geography. In our case file, the SaaS vendor is paid entirely outside of India, directly into a foreign bank account. A common error is assuming that an offshore payment location automatically shields the transaction from Indian tax liability. Section 9 acts as a powerful deeming mechanism, snapping transactions back into the Indian tax base even when the payer and bank account are offshore. Rules branch out based on characterization, business connection, significant economic presence, or indirect asset transfers each trigger distinct deeming rules. Statutory source rules will consistently override the physical geography of the transaction to determine the true Indian tax base. Only after the income is correctly sourced and characterized do we reach the final administrative gate. For current tax years, you must drop any legacy references to the 1961 Act. This table outlines 2025 Act machinery. Non-resident withholding is governed by Section 393(2), certificates under Section 395, and defaults under Section 398. A fourth column maps treaty relief, anchored strictly in Section 159, demanding compliance with Rule 75 and Form 41. Relying on outdated legal references for modern remittances invalidates your compliance documentation and leaves the payer exposed to severe default risks. The SaaS vendor payment started as an unknown liability. By walking it through the 5 gates, we have mapped a path from an ambiguous invoice to a specific, documented withholding decision. Executing this exact diagnostic sequence proves to tax authorities that your conclusion is based on law, protecting the Indian payer from administrative penalties. This dashboard highlights 3 core capabilities to retain: run an Act-first diagnosis, maintain strict Section 9 source discipline, and use clean 2025 Act forms. Legally sound international tax practices are built on the consistency of this architectural discipline.